Okay, can everyone see that? See those slides? Okay. So welcome to the start of the season. We just there's a few things we just wanted to go over with you all, just make sure everyone's on the same page before we get everything started for the season. So sorry we couldn't do this in person given the weather and situation, but here we are. So I just want to let you know, these are all your board members. My name is Parrish Gunnels. I'm the new chair that's taken over for the season. And Beth is still part of the board as outgoing chair. Christy has remained at the secretary position, and then Lane is our new treasurer that started. And Kendra's still doing training. And then we also added some additional at-large positions. So Steve, Joe, and Michael are filling those positions now. So if you ever need to, just so you're aware, that's, if anything, you need to get a hold of one of us to ask a question, or something comes up during a game and you have a question about it, then, please let us know. But these are the people that sit on the board that can help out. And if we don't know the answer, we'll get you to the right place. I wanted to start off with just a little bit on regarding yellow cards and abuse officials and gameplay, that sort of thing. So we had a few situations last year. There was even a red card issued in the high school level, and some other situations. And I'd like to try and avoid those, right? So we have told the coaches they need to maintain their sportsmanship, their parents, et cetera, right? Our purpose is to grow the game and for this to be fun, especially at the youth level. We want, the girls that are playing to have fun and continue to play. We want officials that are learning how to ref to continue to learn and move up, et cetera. So we want it to be a good experience for everyone. So having said that, right, use your discretion, right? We don't want to just be throwing out yellow cards to throw them out. But at the same time, if you've got a coach that's acting inappropriate, not asking you questions and trying to be argumentative, or you've got parents yelling from across the field, feel free to put the yellow card out and let us know of the situation, right? There's just no need for it. And I would just like, especially at the youth level, right? Talk to the coaches. If it's a parent situation, if it's the coach themselves, then feel free to throw the yellow card and then let myself know or Linda know, somebody, of the situation and what happened. And we'll take it from there. I just want to make sure that, and it's fine, right? Especially even at the high school level, we've had some parents, and if I can identify them, I will say something to them and warn them. And I will let the coach also know, right? And usually that will squash the situation. But if it continues, or if it's something completely inappropriate, then feel free, right, to go ahead and issue the yellow card. I just, I don't mind, and as examples of good, right, I don't mind coaches coming up to me in between plays or timeouts. Hey, Parrish, what did you call there? Or what was called there? Or what did you see there? Just so I can tell my players, et cetera, right? I also have no problem with coaches saying, hey, our players are saying, can you watch the cross-checking, right? They're getting a lot of stuff in the back. That sort of stuff is appropriate and fine. I have no problems with that. But when a coach tries to question and have an argument or discussion about what was called, that's where it needs to sort of draw the line, right? So I just wanted to bring that up, that, I want to make sure that everyone understands that, and you'll be supported by the board in those situations. I also wanted to make everyone aware, we put it in the contract with the youth, when they have these bigger play days or tournaments, there will be a field marshal at those games, just to monitor and to help and assist with any types of situations that might come up. It will typically, those field marshals will probably be someone from the board or someone that is, a higher level official in the organization that can cover. And the purpose is just meant to make sure that those games go smoothly. It's also to be there in case there needs to be an escalation point or something needs to be taken care of. We just didn't want youth officials being put in a situation where they don't have some support from another adult and stuff in those at those types of games. So just be aware of that. We'll make everyone, fully aware of who may be out there during those types of things as much as we possibly can. And we'll rely on Linda to help us with managing all that. Okay. Any questions there before we just kind of move on to the training side of things? Concerns, comments? Okay. So I will turn it over to kindergarten. Just kind of going to go over our training and points of emphasis and those sorts of things that are being brought up for this season.
Hey guys, so I'm going to share my screen, but first we'll start with the points of emphasis. Identifying and managing fouls during scoring play. So in the CSA, efficient draw administration and delay of game. So there's definitely some emphasis this year on, keeping the game flowing and, fluid, if you will, and efficiency. Okay, Parrish, I'm ready to flip over if you want to change the share.
Yep, see it. You're good.
Hold on.
Oh, it went away.
Nope, and then I had to unmute. Hold on. How's that?
Yep, now we can see it.
Okay. So this is again from one of the webinars that they've started hosting at USAL. They do it periodically starting in the early months, and then there are a few more. So if you want the video recap of them going over this PowerPoint, then that's also available, and I have those dates listed as we go on. But back to those points of emphasis. First one being identifying and managing those fouls during a scoring play. So again, scoring plays are during that play that's in the CSA, the critical scoring area. So, continuing to monitor illegal and unsafe play. And as officials, we really need to be able to identify the defense and the offense. A lot of times, and it's kind of been said that officials are so focused on the offense down on that area of the goal. However, if we are in good position and, we listen to, those training points and we can see between the players, then we should be able to identify, is it a defense or an offense player that's making those fouls. So just continuing to look at that and be diligent and, certainly know that, well, I guess defense if we're on the CSA, but offense also is what I mean to say, on the attack side. For down in that area. For the second one, efficient draw administration. So continuing that fluidity of the game. So we've had over the years, the self starts, we've had the free movement. So this is just another point of emphasis to keep the game moving and to be efficient. So for us, the official, we need to make sure after there's a goal, we call the goal. And we're not just lollygag walking up to the draw. We are doing an easy jog back to the draw, and we tell those girls that we're ready to go. And I mean, that really can set the tone for the game. If we're doing it from the get-go, then they'll have to follow suit. So I do encourage you to do that. So moving promptly back to draw position and keeping those girls from having their little powwows for, after a goal, the whole attack gets together or the defense gets together and they have to have like a little team meeting about it after every single time. We want to eliminate that, and we're going to start the draw. So if they're not ready, they're not ready. Any stick substitution needs to happen quickly. It has to be done on the sideline. A coach cannot bring that out to the players or anything like that. So, monitor that, tell your table people that that's something they can assist with. Setting up the draw efficiently, and then penalize anything or any players that are going too slowly to set up the draw. So we have that delay of game, and then that kind of leads into use of that green card. So minimizing any delay of games and to keep the game moving. Common violations they've listed here are, those 4 meters. Remember, at this level, the kids have to move 4 meters away. We like to see even just, an attempt. And oftentimes that attacker getting the ball will just keep going. Okay, fine. But if there's any kind of slow down or she has to pick the ball up or anything, then that kid that was the penalty has to give some sort of pause or let the other one go. And sometimes they'll want their 4 meters, and that's up to them, and it may be a strategy, and we have to give that and enforce that. But also they can't delay it. All right. They need to know, and they do, especially at the high school level. Okay. Youth, we may give a little verbal cueing to get them started. Players who commit a foul and continue to run downfield instead of moving the 4 meters away. So with that ball carrier pausing, I just explained, players are slow to clear out of the penalty zone. Again, especially at the high school level, they know what to do. Youth, we can give a little verbal cueing and make sure if we say out of the penalty zone, that's, beyond the, all the way out. And so, and even behind the goal as well. So they have to get out of that area. Teams not returning promptly to the field after a timeout and end of quarter. I do feel like very often we give more time than we need to on those instances. We call the 2-minute timeout, and then, they take time to get off the field for one, but that timeout is really already started. Same thing coming on the field. We give that 15-second reminder, tweet. They need to be moving and grooving. And I feel like those instances, they really do get away with more. But I can also tell you, if we do that green card, they'll take care of that. So, we have the tools if we feel like it's being abused. So I encourage you to use them. Anything on those POEs before we move on? Any other comments from the team? Okay. For our stick inspection, so they're allowed 5 times during the game, only these situations. So before the draw, after a goal, during a quarter break or halftime, of course, team timeout, and then before overtime. So there's an example here, a situation, and these come, from the rule book. So if blue team is awarded an 8-meter, there's less than 1 minute left in the second quarter, and the red team coach requests a stick check. We cannot allow that stick check because it is at the improper time. So they need to either wait for those other 5 times again in which they could do that. So if a goal was scored, they could do it, or before the draw, on that next draw, they could do it as well. Also, next, we have electronic equipment. So it is illegal for a field player to wear any audio video during a game. Certainly medical accommodations, that's separate. And the penalty is for a coach misconduct. So that is a yellow card, and that is impactful. An example here is a field player is wearing earbuds to receive communication from a coach, illegal. Also, example, field players wearing a microphone to record audio for social media, illegal. So one of the coaches in our prior meeting actually asked, what if they're recording audio for fun? We don't know whether or not they're putting it on social media, but just so they could be like, quote, mic'd up. She's seen that a few times. And we said, no. I mean, this is enough in the rule book. We don't really need to know what they're using it for. It says no electronic equipment. Therefore, we're going to enforce no electronic equipment. And that's it. Make it simple. I have not actually seen this, but also those earbuds are pretty tiny. If you think about how they try to get away with jewelry, I'm sure they try to get away with this too, and just kind of tuck them under their, strap of their goggles and stuff like that, just like they try to do jewelry. So just be mindful. If you see it, then we got to call it. Team timeouts. So the rule change here, the summary, if a possession timeout is called, ball is in the goal circle, then play is going to resume at the closest dot, and we'll restart with that free position. So any player may restart when the play resumes at the dot. So that's kind of nice. So any player can take it, but kind of like that AP, if it's in the CSA, it goes to a dot. So this one in the goal circle goes to a dot. Any player can take it. Example here. So blue team goalkeeper blocks a shot and the ball is in the goal circle. We begin our 10-second count, and then the blue team calls a timeout. So blue has possession, so that is legal for them to call that possession timeout. After the timeout, play will resume again at the dot, and any player can start with the ball. It would be a whistle start. Next, on the draw. So rule change here, when a draw is illegal, then the free position will be at the spot. Any player can take it. And then, of course, self-start is permitted unless there's some other clock stoppage. So it makes it nice. Any player can take the ball here as well. And a lot of times it kind of works out that way. And so that only keeps it more efficient. We don't have to take it back to center, or the foul occurred here, but then the other kid picked it up. So we don't have to send it back. We can just, any player can pick it up, spot of the ball. So for the example, blue team draws illegally, white team gains possession near the boundary, and the official requires the white team who took the draw to restart play. So incorrect, because any team can restart. So the verbiage here is that we require that same team player that took the draw. It doesn't have to be her. It could be whoever, as long as it's a white team player. So really, this should just be easier for us, honestly, and a little more fluid, again, as the game goes. All right, next one. When there's a goal circle foul committed, the offending player is going to move 4 meters away instead of behind. So this is nice. Behind the goal circle was, I felt, always a little bit awkward, especially because of the time, the 10-second count that they still have to get rid of the ball. And then that kid is already back in front defending if it was an attacker. So example here, situation. So let's suppose a red team defender reaches into the goal circle, picks up the ball, and takes off. So illegal, goal circle foul by the defense. So red in her own circle. Free position will be awarded at that dot. And then the offending red player just needs to go away from the kid taking it at the dot. Opposite situation, this time an attacker steps on the goal circle while running to the back of the goal circle. Also illegal, goal circle foul. But instead of the attacker going behind the goal circle, now they just need to go away, which seems much more intuitive, especially with that 10-second count. All right. And a little editorial change here on the eye black. So any of that can consist of grease, no glare strips or stickers. However, it needs to be a solid stroke, no words, stickers, numbers, pictures, logos, any of that business. And it should not go beyond the width of the eye socket or below the cheekbone. So really, for the look of intimidating other players is essentially the idea here. For the red cards and yellow cards, so misconduct, coach penalties as well. If a player receives an additional card during the same stoppage of play, then head coach will remove an additional player. So for instance, let's say we call a yellow card, it was a slash, that kid's coming off, and in that same stoppage of time, that team ends up pushing another kid, and they're really hot and mad about it. And so we do a misconduct there. So 2 fouls, 2 yellow cards within the same stoppage, head coach has to take off an additional player. So 2 players are going to come off. Similarly, if the coach receives 2 cards during the same stoppage of play, then that coach would have to take 2 players off as well to leave the field and serve the time. Okay. And that's it, the summary. So this link here is, and I think Christy can drop it in the chat for us. This is where that presentation was. It's posted on the USAL website and the resources. Updated youth guidebook is posted. There's a youth roles comparison also posted. If you're doing youth games, then that's in there. And all of that is up to date for 2026. The only additional youth rule separate from all these high school rules that's youth specific is that they're doing a use of a deputy at 14U, which I think actually that's in our Prezi, right, Parrish? So I will stop share here, and then you can keep going for the other few slides. Any questions on kind of that so far, though, before there it is. So that's the only youth change. So just like we have in high school, we're allowing a deputy for just 14U only. And it came up in the youth for the coaches at the youth level, as we're moving through, particularly the beginning of the season, like these kids haven't played a deputy, many of them ever, because that rule's been in place for several years now. So, by the time they've played lacrosse, they may not know this at all. And for it to change, then just be mindful and maybe some verbal cues at the youth level that, of how that works for them on the field.
Yeah, and just it's a good thing to maybe, especially at the start of the season with these under 14s during your coaches meeting, right? Just to bring it up and verify, right, that everyone's on the same page with that and how it works.
Good, yeah.
Anyone have any questions about that? Okay.
Make
All right,
sure you
well-
sign in, because I have a couple people that haven't signed in, and so if you'd like to get credit, please sign in.
Yeah, please do, because we're recording and going to require people to watch. So, okay, yeah, this is just so Kendra, I don't know if there was something you wanted to highlight on this, but these are the
I'll just
comparison rules.
just know that this resource is there. So particularly at the youth level, and for someone even like myself, like doing a youth game like every now and again at different levels. And so, it's good to review and keep up with all the different levels, especially on a play day. You work all of them in one day even perhaps. So that has been updated and is in that same spot where you'll find that other form. So if Chrissy, if you could drop in that one link for us in the chat, and then it's that same page, all those resources are on the same page. I'm sure we all have been there already, looking around for stuff.
Sorry, I don't think I have those links, Kendra.
Yeah, maybe I thought you put another one. I can pull it and I'll drop it in. Let me, because I
Those
have it
were
on.
just the links for the sign in, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. I should be able to do that. No worries.
Sorry.
No, it's
No, it's
fine.
fine. I thought it was.
While you're doing that, I'll go over this slide, Kendra.
Okay.
So everyone keep in mind as officials, right? There are USA Lacrosse dues and your local NTWLOA dues, right? So make sure that you've paid those. Scheduling does affect that, right? If we don't see that, right, that can affect us not being able to schedule you. So please do do make sure you stay on top of that. If you have any issues or problems with payments or stuff, let us know. If you need to know where to send, especially the NTWLOA dues, then let us know. Also on USA Lacrosse website, right, there are exams, video stuff to watch that's required for your certification for both the high school and youth. If you're only doing youth and you're rated at youth, all you have to do is the youth. If you're doing high school, and you're doing, and then you're also qualified to do youth, so you have to do both. Once you've completed the test, right, if you will send us the certification, screen print, whatever, download, however you want to send it as a file, but it needs to be sent to training, our assigner, which is Linda, and secretary. That way we make sure that we keep track of everybody's certification levels and that you've taken your exams for this season. So if you haven't done that, please get onto the website and do that. There's also, just as FYI, there's some live interpretation webinars with USA Lacrosse. These are the current dates. That's directly from the website. You can go onto those and list. You can see the girls high school and girls youth dates there. I've attended one of those. It's a good refresher for everything, and pretty much goes over some of the points of emphasis that we've gone over tonight. So, and also if you've got friends, family, anybody interested in potentially roughing, we've got new officials training classes coming up. You can use that QR code if you want to on the screen. But please note these dates. They're all virtual. But we're always looking to expand and get more people on the field to rough. So if there's any interest, please pass this information along to them and let them know how to get in contact with us. Okay.
Yeah, and just I was just going to say, Parrish, if
Yep.
you don't have the flyer and you need it, then just reach out to me at training or any of us, honestly, and we can send that. And then, the registration is for this week it starts, and there's just the 2 sessions. We'll be able to knock out all the roles and then still get in field time with the youth start of the season.
And then regarding the exams and courses, right? It's underneath this e-learning, and it's on the website. So when you log in, look for that. You got to make sure that you're logged in underneath your profile, obviously, and that you're official member, and you should see it. If you have problems there too, let us know. The website's a little tricky sometimes, kind of hard to dig through some things, but it is out there. Then just wanted to go over code of conduct, right? And this goes back to my kind of spiel at the first about yellow cards and not allowing there to be abusive officials and how we're supposed to act. I'm not going to read through this, but this is on the USA Lacrosse website. You have to attest to it every time you log in, or I'm sorry, every time you sign up and you continue to ref. But it's basically just the statements of how people should act while at this sport and on the field and around, and it addresses both coaches, players, adults, etc. So it's FYI there. And then also anti-harassment and discrimination policy, right? This is also part of the league and part of USA Lacrosse, and our commitment to abide by rules and regulations as such. If there's any issues or problems, please report that so that we can appropriately handle it through the right channels. Hopefully this is not an issue here in North Texas, but we want to make sure that everyone is aware of this. Okay, a little bit on availability and scheduling, right? It's super important that you keep your availability up to date on Arbiter. It's where everything gets loaded from a scheduling standpoint and where we see who's available to work where and at what level. So if something changes in your schedule, please try to remember to do it. It just causes a lot of headaches if we have to find other officials and such to cover games. For adult officials, if there's any turnbacks, declines, or failures to accept, right, there is a $10 fee payable to the signer. And if that's not received, it can be removed. You can be removed for future assignments. We'll try to be transparent as much as we can with all of that, right? Let people know, but we prefer not to have to deal with that and have a bunch of declines and stuff. So we appreciate you just keeping your availability up to date. Try and keep at least 30 days in advance if possible, right? I know sometimes that's difficult with work schedules and everything else going on and for the youth games that you're playing and things switching, but try to do that as much as possible. On the youth side, if you're working youth games, we really need help on the weekends. Once you start to know what your practice schedule and game schedule is, if you're also a player, please try to go in and get that updated. And if you can work on the weekends, we really would appreciate it. There's a lot of play dates and mini tournaments and stuff that go on throughout the season. And so it's really helpful if we have as many people as we can to possibly cover those games. On the scheduling side of things, right, we've got the high school schedules, and assignments are already starting to be assigned to referees working those games. On the youth side, they are in the process of finalizing their schedules. We anticipate we'll probably have those within the next week or two, and we'll probably start assigning games out here soon. So that's coming. I just wanted to let everyone know where we were on that. Adults, if you're college rated and doing 12 games, we just ask that you probably, because of the shortage of refs that are qualified to do the games, please just give consideration to working our local games and our high school games before going to the 12 games. But we try to cover those as much as we possibly can when we can. So just FYI there. Then important dates of the year. So in high school, the super regionals are scheduled for May 2nd and 3rd. It's being done a little differently this year. So all of D1 schools will go into Austin, D2 to Houston, and D3 to San Antonio. So we'll see how that pans out and works. And then state will be hosted here in Dallas, the weekend of May 9th and 10th. And then from a youth perspective, we tentatively are targeting April 25th and 26th weekend for the end of season tournament. And we'll know more. When we know more, we'll let you guys know on that one. Couple other things just keep in mind, right? Reminders. Tourney, these mini tournaments, especially on the youth level and play and bigger play dates, as soon as we know more about those or when those might be popping up, we'll definitely announce that. If you're not on SportsU, that's a good place to do it. We tend to communicate quite a bit through SportsU and notify everyone. If you're not signed up in that, reach out, let someone know on the board. We can get you to that. We'll be but we'll announce them as soon as they become more solidified and we know exact dates and locations, etc. Keep in mind, uniform, we just want to try and make sure that we stay looking professional, those sorts of things. So coordinate with the people that you ref with, right? If it's cold out, make sure you communicate, hey, I'm going to wear pants, or, kilt or whatever the case may be. Youth, you can definitely wear your neon shirt. Just make sure we'd like to see if there's two of you on the field, like to see you both in the neon. It just looks better. And make sure black accessories, black shoes, black socks, those sorts of stuff. Just keep it all uniform. Pre-game, just make sure that you're talking to coaches, right? We've also told the coaches and asked them that, hey, if there's something strange about the field or something going on, to communicate that to you also when you start to arrive, so that you can talk to whoever you need to kind of handle it and handle the situation and how it's going to be, how the game will be managed. Make sure you're understanding your rules and what level you're stepping onto the field to ref. Do a walk around. This is where you'll find some fields are a little strange. There maybe are not dots, or maybe the restraining lines are a little faded, or there's several different lines. Some of the fields we're on are multi-sport fields, and some of the lines can be strange. So let's make sure that everyone's on the same page with regards to, hey, we're working all of the yellow, it's the yellow lines all the way around, or it's the blue lines, or whatever the case may be, right? So make sure that you're communicating that and working with the coaches on those pieces. Okay, that's kind of the end. There was a couple of things that came out of the coaches meeting. I just kind of wanted to talk about just a little bit to give everyone the heads up on. One of the things that was told, especially, I guess this I assume this is probably happening more at the youth level, but not positive. But if you have coaches or parents trying to sit behind the goal line, you need to please ask them to move. Do it politely, do it nice, right? It's a safety issue. There shouldn't be any, and per the rule books, right? No one is supposed to be behind the goal areas, right? If someone says, well, that's my daughter in goal, or I'm coaching her, say you're going to have to do it from the sideline, right? It's a safety thing and we don't want anyone out there. Same with parents in some of these fields that might be tight, especially on the youth level where the parents may just not be aware, right? Make sure that they're not sitting right on top of the sideline, right? I mean, kids come running through there. You might be running through there to get out of the way of players. We just don't want anyone getting hurt and tripped and falling over. And so try to address that pre-game, even work through their coaches and tell the coaches, hey, all your parents are sitting right on top of the sideline, that we need them to back up about 4 meters or so. So just be open and communicate those sorts of things to them. Also, coaches, and this can apply to the high level. If you start seeing coaches going out of their coaching lane and their coaching area and wandering into, the other side of the other team, or trying to, come around into the end lines, you need to warn them. At least give them a warning, tell them that's cardable. And if they continue to do it, then feel free to give them a yellow card for it. We don't need them wandering around everywhere. They have, per the rules, they have a defined area where they can coach from, and that's where they should be. So just want to make sure that everyone stays in those appropriate areas. Let's see, we already went over deputy goalies, but I did want to mention if a goalie, so this came up too about can a goalie be in shooting space? So the answer to that is yes, right? From a rule standpoint, if the goalie is stepping out of the goalie circle, she is essentially a player. And if you've got an aggressive goalie who's stepping out of the goal circle and trying to meet an ongoing offensive attacking player, and they're stepping in the line they can be called for shooting space. So just wanted to reiterate that that is the appropriate rule. And if they are called for shooting space, they have to go on the 12 behind the shooter, and the goal is open. So just want everyone to be aware of that one. It's a little bit strange rule. You don't see it all the time, but it does happen. And then I just wanted to let everyone know too, and this is probably more interesting for maybe at the high school level, but if anyone wants to join, they can. And I forget, someone on the board, please correct me on the title of this, but we are going to be holding periodically through the season some working tabletop sessions. We did this last year. I think we called it the locker room or something like that. I don't recall. Someone can tell me, but anyway, we'll do them periodically. They're usually via Team or Zooms. It's just a way for us to touch base on some of the games we've worked and talk about rules and things that we've encountered in sessions that, weird stuff that has happened. And did we handle it appropriate or did we not? So it's a good learning place. There's for us to share stories and figure out, I should have handled that differently, or how, if someone else has encountered something similar, they share what they've done. We're trying to expand that actually this year to the roughing associations that are both in the South and West. So we're hoping that to be more of a combined thing, but I just wanted to let everyone aware of that. We will typically put those out like on Sports U or something like that when we do them and arrange them. Okay. I think I do have a question here. So Kendra, you wanted to say something? You're on mute though.
Going off of what you were saying about the sideline and those maybe parents or whatever, but coaches staying in their coaching area. And you can also, tell your table personnel, because you'll be on the field, you can tell them, hey, I've warned them, please make sure they stay 4 meters off the line, because that's also where the table needs to be able to see in order to see what we're doing and call the timeouts and see the cards, et cetera, et cetera. So you can also say like, the table needs to be able to see that. So the kids and the coaches need to be in that space, and the coach definitely can't creep over into that sub area, which is kind of what we typically see, right? But also with that, this came up in the previous call with the coaches, so they are aware that there's only 3 coaching personnel allowed on the sideline. So it's the coach, the assistant, and whatever, 2 assistants, but they don't need other parents back there coaching and taking stats and this, that, and the other. So if they're on the coaching staff and there's no more than 3 of them, that was right, Christy, youth and high school. So emphasize that, because sometimes it's like they try to get a party up in there and they're like, everybody's got a job and they're all doing all the things, and no, it's unnecessary, and it just creates more chaos and too many cooks in the kitchen, if you will. So that can also be something at when you talk to your table, say there should be no more than 3 people here. Let me know if somebody is hanging out, or in the captain's meeting, you can say that. But it was even a clarifying question in the earlier meeting, so they all should be aware. That is all.
Okay.
Well, and just to chime in about that, for those of you that do the 1, 2, and 3, 4 games, while the coaches are allowed on a coach is allowed on the field, if they are impeding you from making calls because they're too much in the play of the game, just ask them very nicely to, step back or stay on more of the sidelines of the field rather than in the play of the game.
Yeah.
I know we ran into that in the fall, so.
Okay, anybody have any questions or anything that we would, you'd like us to clarify? Anything at all? You can add it into the chat or just even, just come off mute and ask. No stupid questions. Okay, nothing. Okay. All right, don't want to hang on to anyone any longer than we have to. So if anything comes up, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help you navigate whatever's going on. And hopefully everyone have a really great season. Do you have something else, Beth?
Yeah, one more thing I forgot. Ken Jimerson, I think that you might be a transfer from another area.
Yes.
Well, we just want to say welcome, first of all. But
Yes.
also if Linda would like us, if you could drop your cell phone number in the chat, that would be great. So that way we can make sure that we have the contact up to date. So she can get you in for a signing if you're still interested for the spring. So
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. And Linda and I, we've spoken over the course of the year.
perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Looking forward to roughing. I heard a lot of great things about the community, and let's go out and have some fun.
Yes, for sure. Let's get this snow out of the way first.
Yeah, right.
Perhaps that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Sounds
sorry,
great.
Parrish.
Make
No,
sure
you're
everybody's
fine.
signed in,
Thanks,
and
everybody.
don't forget to send me your tests and your professional development so that have both of those
Awesome.
things, please.
Thanks, Parrish.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Uh-huh.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Parrish.
guys, everybody. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
We need to end the recording.
Yeah, I was working on that.
And let's see, Ken, if you can still, before we end the call, type your